for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3, just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run this town. 1 for the money, you know what it is. 2 for the show, yeah, we shut it down. 3, just to make sure you ready. 4, let them know that we run this. Feeling good, yeah, I could taste it. I could tell that it's one of them days.
What's going on, guys? 7-Figure Dog Trainer Syndicate podcast with the one and the only, the awesome Mr. Robert Barlow of B-Hyve Canine, located in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's one of my favorite vacation spots, but for him, it's where he does his line of duty. Mr. Barlow, go ahead, tell everybody about you and your company and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Shane, thanks. I'm Robert Barlow. I am the owner operator of B-Hyve Canine, where we train a lot of pet dogs, sport dogs. We do a lot of scent detection, as well as protection stuff, like, because I'm a big competitor in PSA, Protection Sports Association.
Awesome.
So my dog Reaper just finished his second leg of his 2 a couple of weeks ago. So
Yeah.
stoked about that. So we're getting ready to start in the 3s here shortly, and maybe in Colorado in a couple of weeks. I just reached out to a buddy of mine to see if he has a spot. So and then some of the other stuff I do is a lot of like canine fitness and stuff. I train most of the police dogs around here. I'm an instructor with our Utah Post canine program. I'm always with those guys, teaching them different things and just anything I can to help somebody learn a better way or help with their dog is kind of what I try to do.
Awesome. Do you ever touch service dogs? Do you ever do like train tasks for disabilities or anything? Are you in that sector?
I haven't. So mostly I've just been like people who ask me for service dogs. I get them to all through the CGC stuff, the AKC CGC stuff.
Yeah.
And I have some friends that I reach out that do that stuff and have them push them up.
Yeah. You
I
do
stay in my lane.
brother, do you do like behavior modification, dog on dog aggression, dog, human aggression and stuff like that, fixing that and training people?
Yeah. So anything with aggression, usually I deal with, just from your basic obedience up to, if they have aggressive tendencies to other dogs or other animals. I try to teach them how to be as neutral as possible, and then educate their pet parents how to keep them out of those situations or how to deal with them when they do arrive.
Cool. That's awesome. How did you end up getting that name, B-Hyve? What is the story behind that?
So Utah's the B-Hyve state.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to play on words a little bit, so I spelled it, instead of like an actual beehive, I spelled it B-Hyve,
Like Have.
could be like B-Hyve or behave.
It reminds me of Austin Powers, like, oh, B-Hyve, baby.
Yeah. So it was kind of just a little play on words, and then I had a really great artist, Damon Jennings. Thank you again. Do my logo, and I asked him to put my dog Reaper with a bee, and he came up with our logo with the dog bee, and it's pretty unique. So I love it.
That's cool. That's cool. You got a dog named Reaper. I mean, does he live up to that name?
Yeah, he's a pretty
badass name.
So I actually named him after the Blade movies.
Yeah.
It wasn't really because of the Grim Reaper. It was because of the Reaper strand in Blade 2.
Gotcha.
And then I got a couple of young ones, and I've named them all different characters from that movie.
What kind of dog is he? Is he a dual purpose?
He's a Dutch Shepherd, and he's my competition dog.
Uh-huh.
So I do scent detection with him through the AKC, UKC, NACSW, and I also compete in PSA, and we've done a little bit in Schutzen and a little bit in French Ring with him as well.
So he's out there taking souls.
Yeah, he loves to bite.
Kick ass.
He's like the most neutral dog you'll meet. I can lay him down around, and
he's level-headed and balanced.
Yeah, very balanced.
That's rare out of Dutchies, right?
Yeah. I call him my unicorn dog.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Maybe you got to breed that dog so we can get some more level-headed Dutchies and not so crazy Dutchies.
Well, I just picked up a 3-year-old female who's just as level-headed. So my goal is to title her, and that might be a possibility here soon. So
Yeah, we know genetics though. Even though both are level headed, you might get some other genetics from some like further in the chain that breed some monsters. You're
yeah,
like both
well,
balanced dogs.
yeah, they're both very two lines, and it would be like a 2-4 crossing.
Yeah,
So I like Barry too, and some of his offspring has done really well. So it'll help bring that to the forefront, hopefully. So
yeah. It took me a lot of years to like getting out of the military mindset of like working dogs and stuff because we would procure dogs from overseas from like Dog Century and Gerard and stuff
yeah,
that we have no clue about the bloodlines of where they came through to start learning these like KMPV bloodlines and all this other stuff. It it's much bigger in the sport dog world knowing these bloodlines to compete at high levels, right?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Our
Very
police dog, my police dog, who he retired 2 years ago, and I have no idea his lines. I just know he likes to bite people and he finds
yeah.
dope.
No, a
So
lot of like he was probably bought and imported through like Slovakia or something,
yeah,
or Hungary. A lot of dogs coming out of Hungary,
oh yeah.
so Hungarian lines and stuff. So your journey, man, you're a cop right now, right? You're what exactly are you?
So I'm a full-time normal police officer.
Mhm.
Right now I'm old man status, so I get to work day shift and hang out. I'm like
Not
number
fun nights.
nope, not anymore on nights. uh, Wanted to start seeing my kids grow up, so I decided, once the
Priorities.
dog retired, and I was like, well, it's time to go to day shift. And
Yeah,
yeah,
priorities and balance is important, right?
yeah. And I have little kids. I got a 7 and a 5-year-old. Both
Congrats.
boys, they both play competitive soccer, um, and every sport really, known to man. So very
Are they
athletic.
into, are they into dogs?
They love them, so they're always begging for one.
You
They're
got
like,
some.
"Dad, we don't want one like yours. Yours is mean. We want a nice one that we can hold and cuddle."
So you might have some future employees coming
Yeah.
up.
Well, my oldest, I got him a dog. He's got a little Dutchy female, and he actually like posts up better, like during protection work. He posts up better with her than most of the adults do. He just like listens, and he's just all into it. So,
Cool. Very cool. What led you to your current path?
as a police officer or a dog guy,
Let's say both.
so I was in college, and I actually wanted to be a teacher. So I went to college to be a teacher, and I got sidetracked a little bit, and I took a couple of gen eds that dealt with criminal justice stuff, and I realized that it became very natural to me of
Yeah.
learning laws and stuff and being able to understand them. And it just felt right. And growing up, I didn't have the best childhood. I've had some abusive fathers throughout my life. Uh, Dealt with family members doing drugs, abusing alcohol, different things like that. And so when I took those classes, and in my brain it clicked, I felt right. And then I was like, because of my past, I'm like, you know what, this is meant to be, because now I can hopefully save somebody else and teach them, even though times are rough now, life can get better. So I switched my major to criminal justice and ended up getting a bachelor's and a master's degree in
Damn.
justice, and started being a police officer 15 years.
Master's degree though.
Yeah.
That's a lot of school, bro.
Yeah. I wanted to go work for the DEA and deal with drugs. But then I met my wife, and we got married, and she wanted to be a clinical psychologist and couldn't move around every 5 years. So I was like, law enforcement's law enforcement. So I'll just go be a cop for our cities. So,
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna work with drugs, is that like undercover work and stuff? Like,
well, I was going to do the DEA.
yeah.
That was my main goal, is to be, federal. But now I get to do it as a regular street cop, and I was one of our canine handlers for 5 years. Had a Belgian Malinois named Judge. I called him Judge Dredd. So
Another badass name.
yeah, so I got him because a couple handlers couldn't deal with him. They didn't know what to do. And I was already doing sport dog stuff. I started in Schutzen, and I was already doing PSA and some French ring stuff.
Yeah, you could handle them.
Time I was able to get the dog, and they're like, if you, they gave me 6 months to fix him, because like when I first got him, if somebody held up anything in their hand, he was like so scared. He ran behind me, would pee
Oh,
himself. So they're like, if you can fix him in 6 months, he's yours. If not, we'll buy you a new dog. So 6 months later, he's a certified patrol dog and
what?
narcotic dog, and we won a bunch of trophies through the Utah Peace Officer Association's canine trials. Uh, his last 2 years on the force, he was the top patrol dog through the trials. Um,
Dude, that's wild. How many people you think would have gave up on his ass?
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of it was just teaching him like I would a puppy, and teaching him that noise and objects won't hurt you, and just
yeah,
building him up. He never had that. So,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, and that's kind of how I got into law enforcement.
Yeah, and then you started your company. What made you realize you wanted to start going and training pets? Because working dog world's entirely different than pet world, and pet world will actually humble you and make you a
Oh yeah,
better
for sure.
trainer,
For sure.
for
No,
sure.
a lot of my friends call me the dog guy,
Mhm.
or like, because I lived in Texas. I was a cop in there for about 6 years, and um I did sports down there. That's where I started my first PSA club, and everyone just got to know that I was the dog guy. And I started getting people, just random people from from friends of friends, who, hey, can you help me with this dog? Can you help me with that dog? So I'd help them um, do some obedience and basic training stuff, and teach them neutrality. And then we moved back to Utah in 2015. And I was going to start my company then, but my wife was pregnant with my first son. So she asked me to wait. And then 2 years later, we had our second son.
Mm.
So I waited a little bit longer, and I finally just, enough people just kept coming up to me needing help and wanting a trainer. So I finally just started the business fully operational, and got all the legality stuff and everything in October of 2020. So
Nice, very nice. What is your inspiration, or where do you drive inspiration, to do this?
um, to, mostly for my boys, I just want to be able to give them something
Yeah,
when I like when I get too old to not do anything, and then
yeah,
give them a trade that they can use if they want.
yeah.
Um,
Are you going to continue to build it while being a full-time police officer, or if it's blowing up so much, are you gonna jump ships and take that leap of faith fully devoted to the company, or are you going to go through the police retirement
so I
process?
got 6 years left.
Okay,
So to
you gotta
retire,
finish.
so not much longer.
You gotta
Uh,
finish it.
yeah, so I got to finish that, and my goal is to build it to where I can feel comfortable, and my wife can feel comfortable to just bounce once I can retire. Because
Yeah,
I got a 20-year pension, I might as well use it, right? So
yeah, I agree, man.
free
Once you're
money, and I've been dealing with it for 15 years anyway.
Yeah, that's
So
that's too much to throw away.
yeah, for sure.
Got too much skin in the game, man.
Yeah, but that's the goal, is to grow it and continue to grow it. In the last 3 years, I went from just training dogs out of my house with one-on-one private lessons and one or
Yeah.
two boarding trains here and there, to now
Mhm.
I opened up a facility that became fully operational 4 months ago.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
this last month, because we're doing boarding and training and boarding trains out of it. I have a little dog gym, a little grooming area as well to keep the dogs clean and stuff. And last month actually was my best month within the 4 months, because people are starting to realize that I board dogs and stuff too. And the training's always been there. It's just the other amenities are coming along.
Dude,
So last month's good, and we're already starting to get people booking us out till December right now to house their dogs for.
congratulations, man. That is awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. How many you got trainers working in there?
So I got two trainers. Um, they both are in my PSA club here in
Mhm.
Utah, which is Salt City Hellhounds. They started, one of them, I put on a decoy school for some cops and sport people, and this young kid came in and he can only pay the audit fee. And I immediately like recognized him, spoke to him, and I was like, this kid has drive and passion. I'm gonna put him in a suit. And he hasn't left me alone since. So that was 4 years ago. So so he's become one of my really best trainers. His name's Cash. Good young kid, just turned 19 last month.
That's awesome.
And he's taken to it really well, and he's really good at it.
Yeah.
And you know, for only 4 years, the kid has come a long way, and he's able to teach other people. And
You
then
got
the
to
other,
you got to build
was
him.
that?
You got to build him, and
Yeah,
then he's building other people for you.
yeah, for sure. And
Wow.
that's what's going on. It's nice, and I still teach him stuff every day. And then there's Taryn. She's been with me about 3 years now, and same way, she's picked it up really easy. She's trained some dogs, her own dogs in the past, so she had a little bit of knowledge of what she's read and stuff. So I just molded her to what works for me, and you know, and I tell both of them, you know, don't just stick to my ways, like find other ways, because what I do for one dog might not work for you or another dog. So
Yeah.
I always stress to keep searching for more training opportunities and stuff.
Yep.
And
That's actually indicative to a lot of really well performing training facilities, is bringing in other trainers that you like and having them teach courses to your trainers, keeping people, you know, the ego at the door, and always learning and growing, and just building that tool belt of knowledge, you know.
yeah, so like I don't know if you know Jonathan Katz,
Yeah, I've heard of them.
one of the big PSA guys. He's got 3 PSA 3 dogs.
Yeah.
Really good trainer, really good friend of mine. My first PSA trial was when I met him, and it was on a whim because one of our decoys dropped out. I called him. He's like, "Yeah, I'll drop everything and come and help you." And he came to it and decoyed the seminar and or
And
the trial, and like helped teach us some more stuff about PSA because we were very new at the time. This was 12 years ago. And he stayed after the trial and worked all our dogs, showed us stuff, and instantly became a really good friend. And I've had him out in the last 2 years 3 times now. So
it's great.
um and then you know, I try to get other people and other trainers, and then other some of the trainers I know around here bring in people too. So we're always trying to go to theirs as well and support each other. So
Yeah, but your camaraderie is really built around the PSA club. But if you're not in the PSA club, how do you fare? And a lot of places it's really like a tight brotherhood, a clique, and it's sometimes even rivalry. How do you guys operate?
um so not so much, like, I mean, the PSA thing is one aspect of it. um I have a lot of friends who are dog trainers as well. One is a really big name, and her name's Teresa Foster. She does a lot of dock diving. That's her main thing.
Oh yeah,
Canine
specialized.
fitness. And like she comes to me and we do PSA with her one of her dogs, and I go to dock diving with her. We're always supporting each other. I have others that just do pet dogs, and they're like, "Hey, you got a building? Can we rent it out for the winter?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and I give it to them on the cheap, right? So they can
Yeah,
still make money. And like I'm supportive of other trainers and vice versa, because there's enough dogs out there for everybody.
yeah,
Um, and it's just, and my thing is if they get something they can't handle and they know I can, they send it to me, and
yeah.
vice versa. So it's just nice to support each other, and you know, stay like that, and not just be, you know, thinking somebody's taking food off your table when ultimately they would probably not go to you anyway.
Yeah. And I know you've probably seen that in the syndicate. That's how that's the whole vision,
Yeah,
is
for
camaraderie,
sure.
helping each other on the business side.
Yeah, and that's what I read when I clicked on your side, and that's kind of the part I like what drawn me into you
Yeah.
and getting this meeting with you as well, is because of that camaraderie and wanting to build others and not just tear a company down because they're a competitor, right? Like it's
Absolutely.
all about helping each other and helping our communities.
Yeah. Just make the industry a better place, man.
Yeah. And
'Cause it
because like,
can,
you might have a great idea, I might have a great idea, and we go together, and now we got two great ideas that we're sharing, right? Like
yeah,
that's the whole thing for me, is like being able to share the stuff I've learned
yeah,
throughout my years, because I didn't get to go to like a formal canine school or anything, or a dog training school. All mine came from learning from some really great competitors in various sports,
yeah,
and really great law enforcement officers who were really great handlers. and then a lot of trial and error.
Well, did the department send you to any handler courses and training and stuff like that? I figured they usually do, right? Like you get to pick up a dog and they put you through handler course, but
Yeah, so we go Utah. We go through Utah Post, which is our peace officer standard testing.
Mhm.
Um, every law enforcement officer has to go through that just for their peace officer license or correction license. But they also have a canine program that used to be ran by Wendell Nope.
Mhm.
Now my buddy Art Lopez runs it. Nope just retired last year. Art took over for him, and so I went through that school in 2016. Um, it's it's like any school. It's very basic, just enough to get you past the class. But I was
Teach you how
already
to hold
doing
the
sport
leash.
dogs for 16 years before.
Yeah.
Um, and so I knew a lot of stuff already. I learned more of the police side of stuff a little bit, but I was already training police dogs in Texas before that, and here in Utah before that. So a lot of it I already kind of knew, but I learned more of the scientific reasonings behind it because it was like a more formal school
Yeah.
with books and stuff. And then uh, last year I became an adjunct instructor and certifying judge for them. So now I go and teach the program.
Yeah.
um, on my days off, that's where I'm at, or I'm at the business at night. So
Yeah. You're a busy man.
yeah,
You can ask, man. I'm proud of you. It's the first time really, face to face talking and really impressed. I think that's awesome how you're killing it.
thank you, thank you.
Super cool. So it's not easy running a dog training company. It's not easy being a full-time police officer. What are some challenges that you've faced since 2020, starting this company?
The biggest challenge is making time that I want for my family.
Hmm.
Like I said, my boys play sports. They've had a lot of tournaments this year in soccer this summer. My oldest, he's playing under 9 now. So they all are in tournaments now. So I just I realized I have to like not do everything myself, and I actually started letting Cash and Taryn, my two trainers, take
Yep.
on more responsibilities.
Yep.
And that's been helpful but scary.
Yeah. You've got
um,
to trust and you've got to learn to be a master delegator and get people and manage
that's for
because you
sure.
can't
And
do it
I
all.
recently hired a manager. Like shortly after. She's a older lady. Her name's Casey. She's great. She really is good with people. She's a medic. Used to be a vet tech as well. So like if anything happens medically, she's there taking care of that.
That's
And she's just
awesome.
really good with people. So it's like leaving those three kind of to take charge has been a godsend. But also at first I was a little hesitant. So, um, but right now I just really just go in and just work the clients that Cash and Taryn just aren't to that level yet. Like usually your harder aggression cases and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But they usually deal with most of the pet stuff uh, now, and I do most of the the protection dogs and the aggression cases.
Yeah.
So it's
I
been
still
kind
do
of
the same.
yeah, it's a little less stress allowing them. But that was the biggest hurdle for me is making time for my kids and then
Mhm.
allowing somebody else to do things without me like micromanaging. So I'm very uh a personality type and I want to be in charge.
I
So
mean, that's why you're in the career field that you're
yeah,
in. That's why
exactly.
all of us canine guys are that way. That
Yeah,
is the career field. Gotta
yeah,
be, you won't survive.
yeah. Well, I was in the military too. I did 8 years in the army, so
Cool.
it's
Thank
like
you.
I got that and I got the cop thing. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
we might have a little control complex, right?
yeah, my wife doesn't like it. My wife's a clinical psychologist, bless her heart.
Oh man.
So it's I helped put her through school. The cop thing put her through school.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's
They
me
can
wanting.
diagnose you.
Oh yeah, all the time. So her wanting to be me wanting to be in charge, and then she's pretty type A personality as well. And then there's like, well, I want to be in charge, and this is why because scientifically, and I'm like, oh, come on,
Can't argue with that. Damn it.
I know, and I try, and I don't win very much. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of winning, what are some your biggest and proudest accomplishments, most successful moments either in the police patrol world or PSA or all the above?
Let's do the first. Let's do PSA first.
Yeah.
My first proudest moment is um I got Reaper's PDC up in Canada when he was about a year and a half, and going back up there and earning his first leg of his two last year, and then taking home like all the trophies, high obedience, high owner train, high protection, high everything. I'm not a guy that cries a lot, not very emotional, but I cried because those guys up there has become family to me. Um, and I really appreciate everything they do and how they treat me like one of their own. Um, which is Ultimate Canine Bodyguards up in Calgary, Canada. By the way, I gotta give them a shout out.
Awesome.
They did, and they even cried with me. Like it was just an emotional moment for all of us that I got my first leg at my PSA 2, and with all the high scores, and just being there from his very first trial to this one, it was very emotional. And then the second one was getting his second leg of his PSA 2 actually there again.
What is
So,
that?
and that was just here in June.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of people don't know what that means. What is that?
oh, the PSA 2.
Yeah, explain it for people that are,
So,
because they have
just
no
like
clue.
just like any dog sport, there's levels. So PDC is like your protection dog certificate, and then there's PSA 1, which is Protection Sports Association, level 1, level 2, and then there's level 3. In PSA, um, level 2s and level 3s, you don't know the order of behaviors. You know what kind of behaviors you got to do, but you don't know how it's going to play out until the day of the trial. So I could go to one trial and do one set of things and go to another trial and do them completely different.
Right, so it's random, so your dogs truly need to be trained to a high level to achieve it. It can't be
Yeah,
minimized through routine.
yeah. So it's not a routine
Yeah.
because you can start on the level 2s. You can start in any corner of. They do it in a square. You can start at any corner. You can start with a retrieve first, then into a heel, to a figure 8, to a recall, or you can start off going through a tunnel and a jump, or a jump in a tunnel, or 2 jumps. Like
It
you
needs to
never
be
know
trained
until that day of the
backwards.
trial.
Yeah, so it needed to be trained forwards and backwards and randomized, and if you were lazy in your training, it's definitely going to show on that day, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
You're going to shit the bed.
yeah. I truly believe PSA is one of the hardest sports out there.
Mhm.
Um, just because not everything is you do this step, this step, this step, and then you're done, right? I like the randomization about it. A lot of it because of my law enforcement, because I like the unknown, right? Like everything's a little different. I want to be able to react in the moment, and that's why I love PSA is because you're reacting in the moment, even though they show you right before you go out on the field. You still have to think, and you got 15 minutes, so it's not a lot of time to think through a routine and how your dog's going to react and how you're going to react if your dog does this or that. So a lot of it's right on the fly.
So it's not just dog dependent, but it's handler or it's team dependent too.
Yeah, you definitely have to be a good team, good balanced team out there. And because if it's all dog, you're not going to pass. If it's all you, your dog's not going to perform. It's definitely building that team and that rapport together, and just coexisting into a beautiful little, I don't know what to say, but
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
you know what I mean.
You're going to say routine, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's just a good team that can encounter anything that's thrown at it
yeah,
and into different levels and intensities. So, is
yeah.
it hard to get a 2? Is it hard to get? I mean, impossible to get a 3? Like, how is that?
Yeah, twos are hard. A lot of people are like, even myself, is super ecstatic, even just achieving one leg of the 2, letting
Yeah,
on getting the second leg. There's a lot of people who have done it now. Back in the day, it used to not be as many,
yeah.
but the 3 is 10 times harder. Um, you really have to be on point, and in pretty much anything goes. In the level 3, it looks like chaos, but it's controlled chaos.
Mm.
And I think there's only 28 dogs, I want to say maybe 29, that has earned a PSA 3 in the 20 something years it's been going on.
In all of the United States?
Of all the country, the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they probably keep it that way. Like it's got to be the best bloodlines to break through that barrier, right? And teams.
And it's definitely testing the dog and testing the handler and then testing the team together. So, because it breaks it down to 3 phases, really, where it's going to test your dog's nerve and stability and trainability. It's going to test the handler's ability to train his dog and to think on their feet, and the work, and then the teamwork, how you work together to accomplish those goals.
That's awesome, man.
So,
Do you guys bar people from training with any sorts of breeds? Are all breeds welcome?
no,
Into
usually all breeds are welcome as long as they can do it. We've had some pit bulls in throughout the country do it. I have a few friends that have some titled pit bulls in PSA. One pit bull is working on his level 3 right now, actually.
holy cow.
So you know,
That's a scary dog.
yeah. And then I seen a little cane terrier at one of the trials this year. Tiny little rat dog, like out there doing his thing, and it was the coolest little thing. And then I have a friend here in Utah who had a doodle, who got a PDC with a doodle.
With a doodle.
So, yeah, it was pretty awesome to watch. So
Hilarious. Cool. So you bring a lot of expertise from, you know, your various backgrounds of the sport world and the police world and now the private sector and obedience. So I guess get into the specific knowledge and skills and insight that you bring to the industry and field, and that your company B-Hyve Canine does.
So, I mean, we do basic obedience. I mean, pretty much any dog trainer can do that. Where I like to shine is teaching the neutrality, getting the dogs to focus on you and not everything around you. Really build that teamwork, no matter what breed. What was that?
Handler focus.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't matter what breed. If the dogs have some little drive, especially for food, I can usually get them to, be neutral and really focus on that handler, and then build that team relationship together. I'm really good at doing detection work. I mean, that's kind of one of my big fortes. I teach that the most here at the Utah Post Canine Program. I teach our narcotic dogs and our explosive dogs.
Would you say that's your bread and butter?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of do the most. And I teach a lot of pet dogs to do the AKC, UKC scents, like the Vetveer, Myrrh, Cypress, Anise, Birch. And I've been extremely successful with teaching those dogs. They're a little more challenging, some of the low drive dogs, but I wanted to do it to make me better at teaching the police dogs. Yeah. And then I found that I actually really like teaching these little dogs to sniff and watching them grow.
Are you just curious? Are you building those dogs with food reward on that type of training?
Yeah.
Food based, right?
Yeah, most of them are food. I've had one that was more toy motivated. That was an off breed, so I did it with toy. Usually, like your German Shepherds or Malinois, Dutchies that I get in class, like we'll do toys with those guys. But there's some that don't have the drive either, so we use food, and that's good. I got this little poodle. His name's Archie. He's like literally a tiny, tiny little guy. He's about this big, maybe like 1.5 feet tall, and he is a rock star at scent work. So, yeah, he kills it, and he's just this little dainty poodle, and he finds those scents like no other. His mom has been great. She's been training with me since I actually started the scent work classes 2 years ago, and she's been with me since. She's one of the few that's stayed with me, and her dog kills it. She's gone to competitions and won some first place ribbons all the way down to third place ribbons, and that little dog's beating out dogs that were bred for this stuff. So I'm pretty happy to be able to produce that dog to make him like that. Now I'm teaching him tracking. I taught him hard surface tracking, grass and soft surface tracking, and we just last Sunday we actually just put the two together, where now they're going from grass to hard surface back to grass, and he's killing that. So It's just, and it's
So
built.
somebody can bring a dog to you and you can test an eval it and they can get involved in one of your programs to do something like this.
Yeah,
That-
yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
you're giving dogs jobs.
yeah. Hey, and that's what you got to do to make them happy and live longer and healthier
That's what,
lives.
that's why we bred them, right? That's why we
Yeah,
domesticated them, is to serve us.
yeah,
That's what we created. A lot of people forget that. You know,
yeah. And I remind people, look, when I first take on a client, I tell them right off the bat is, look, I'm not going to be mean to you, but I'm not going to care about your feelings. Like, it's about your dog and what your dog needs. And if I have to hurt your feelings to express that, I will. And a lot of people like really respect me for that because I'm very upfront and I'm very honest. And like, and then when I start talking about what their dog needs, they're like, you know what, this makes sense, because I explain it too. Like, sometimes I use kids as an example, or human behavior as example, because sometimes some things can be related and they understand it better. Or like, when I tell them, most people are taking their dog for a walk without teaching it to heel because they think the dog has to walk. And I'm
mhm.
like, tell me what dog in the wild just goes on a walk, right? And I'm like, they move for specific reasons: food, sex, water.
Yep.
That's it. And to
Needs,
migrate. Like,
yeah, needs and drives.
yeah, right. And so they're like, then they start getting it. And they're like, okay, all right, this makes sense. We'll listen. And that usually is what it takes. And then like I talk, hey, your dog's doing really good here, and I think they would excel in this sport. And I try to push them to a sport, and not everybody, because other people just don't care, right? They just want their dog trained. But the ones who are really showing promise, and I'm like, you know what, your dog would be really good at this. Would you want to try it? And a lot of them are like, yeah, let's try it. So we try it out. The dog does well, and that gets them into the sport too. So I'm not just training dogs for a job, but also helping grow other sports to
Hmm.
get more dogs and more people to be involved in those sports.
Yeah, and that helps. That helps the whole like dog ownership environment as a whole, because they start learning the different forms of training in these sports and what needs to work on your styles. You know,
Right,
the what's the philosophy of training, operant conditioning.
right.
Positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, so on. So that's cool, man, that you're doing that. That's huge. And that's a good business model too. Like, you know, helping like that leads into another package that someone's going to get into in the future. And it's all good for the dog, it's all good for the owners, it makes everything good, and it's good for the business.
Yeah,
So that's killer.
yeah, and it's it's done well. I've been like super excited watching these dogs grow and
Hmm.
actually go and compete on the ones who have and do well and be successful. And then their owners are just super happy when they come back. And sometimes I try to go to the trials with them, but my schedule with the work and stuff, with being a cop, sometimes our schedules don't allow it. But I always try to at least go to their first competition they go to if they tell me, um and try to
That's
help
great.
them, get the jitters out and like,
Yeah,
hey,
because
it's okay. It's just a competition. Like,
that's awesome. So, based on your experiences, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs or individuals looking to excel in the industry? Have there been any key principles or strategies that have gotten you to be successful? Because you're successful.
my biggest thing is be honest and be upfront.
Mhm.
If you can't do something, people are going to respect you more if you tell them, hey, I don't know how to do that, or I can't do that, let me find out, than if you try to blow smoke up their skirt, right? um
So
and
specialize if you have to, right? Like
yeah,
if you're good at OB and something else, then focus on that until you start becoming a master at the other things, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, and like, because I mean, there's so many different behaviors and reasons why dogs do things that if you know everything, I want to learn from you, because not everybody's going to know it all. But get a good network, have friends who do different things, be friendly with other trainers, because you might have to ask them how to do something, and build that network. And then at the same time, be upfront and honest to your clientele, and that respect goes a long way. And then they're going to tell their friends, and their friends are going to tell their friends, and that's how I've kind of grew that name. And then the other thing is, being a law enforcement officer and being a canine handler and training, I don't know how many dogs now for the state, probably over 400 dogs for the state of Utah and surrounding agencies that send them here. Um, because I do the same thing with them. I'm upfront, I'm honest. I try to teach them and try to help them as much as I can. And, and they tell their friends. So some of the cops I train, they send their friends to me to go train their pet dogs.
Yeah.
So it's just, treating people like people and being honest and respectful, really.
I think that's some solid advice, like real solid advice. You stick to those principles, keep yourself out of a lot of problems.
Exactly.
Like, that's really what you're going to do.
Yeah, because I had a board and train that we've had for a week now. The dog's just super nervous, won't do anything. And they usually do that for about a day to 3 days, depending on the dog. This one done it for 6 days. And I finally just, I'm like, I told the owner, hey, you might want to come and get him. I can't do this. I'm not going to charge you. I don't feel right about it. And that grew so much respect from her. She's like, thank you for being honest. And she signed up for private lessons so we can work her dog at home.
Exactly.
And
yeah, knowing when to shift gears like that and reduce a program or package is that's fucking honesty.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing is, like, I have other clients who've come to me because they've been burnt from other trainers that they took on board and trained for a month, spent all this money, and the dog come back not doing anything, but
worse.
or worse. And it's like, how do you expect to stay in business if you're not?
You won't.
Like being exactly, but be honest. And if you can't work it, get that done fast, and then say, hey, I think the dog will be better at home, and let's do one-on-ones. Or, hey, this dog is just not my cup of tea. Here's another trainer that might be a better fit that could help you and your dog out.
Or just not taking it on in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many styles, right? Like, this dog was a little nervous when I got her, but nothing out of the norm. And it just, so, I took her on, but I quickly realized that she wasn't going to get any better and she's not going to work for me. So I want to be upfront and honest with the person. And
that's a big thing we do with our evals is knowing what you're looking at before you get into it, and then truly serving and selling that person what the dog needs, not what your business needs. Yeah, your business needs your endless $6,000 packages. That's what your business needs. But the dog needs private sessions because it's gonna get worse in the kennels with the other. Man, you're a stand-up guy for that. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
What lessons have you learned looking back on your journey? Is there any particular lesson, principle you wish you had known earlier, or would you have taken a different path to get to where you get quicker?
I would probably, I would have liked to go to like a actual dog school.
Like Lackland?
Huh?
Like Lackland? Like a military working dog school?
I mean, I didn't get that opportunity in the military. I was an interrogator, so I was a different path over there.
Interrogator?
Yeah, I was an interrogator.
Jesus.
I'm good at talking and listening. But like Tar Heel or
he's got a great book.
Yeah, I've read it multiple times.
His controlled aggression book.
Yeah. So, and I've actually met Jerry and trained with his club a couple of times. My wife actually did her postdoc like 20 minutes from his location.
Yeah, I
so
give that
I went there, I went over there.
Huh? I give that book as an opener to all my trainers, so they can.
And my trainers are doing it right now.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like his school, or I mean, there's numerous schools out there. I don't know them all.
I mean, Learburg too, man. They've been around forever. They're like the OGs, and
oh yeah,
Tar Heel, like, so far ahead of their times too for what they were teaching and stuff. Of like, they're ahead of their times.
Yeah, I still got VHSs from Learburg when I was doing Schutzen about how to learn, because like I was watching videos, I was reading books, that
right there is the golden nugget, dude. What you just said. If you're willing to do that, you're willing to be better.
Exactly. And you got to do the education, right? Like, and I took that from my college stuff. Like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the way I want, and I'm going to try to be the best at it. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying I am the best, but I'm definitely not the worst. And I continue to try to read books and educate myself still today. Like, I still uh, watch videos from Learberg
Yeah.
and
So you could be self-taught.
yeah,
You could be self-taught and be kick-ass, but you need to be consuming the right content.
exactly. And I had a lot of good mentors along the way that would, hey, you should read this, or hey, you should read this, and that's what kind of kickstarted a lot of it. And like, I mean, I was already reading dog training books, but it wasn't the right books, right? Like, and then they're like, hey, this one's better, try this. And one of them I really loved. I didn't understand it the first time I read it because I was very new in Schutzen and dog training in general, and it was called Training and Drive. Um,
You weren't
and
ready for the knowledge dump probably at the
yeah,
time, right? Like you weren't developed enough to receive the information.
yeah, but I have reread that book throughout the years, and I still take stuff from it.
Yeah.
The same with Jerry's book is I still reread it and
Yes.
take stuff from it. I constantly listen to podcasts, like every dog knowledge I can get. I don't care good or bad. I'm listening to it, and then because even if I think it's bad at the time, it might work for a dog down the road. So that's the biggest thing: is always be willing to soak up knowledge. Always be willing to learn from everyone you meet. Either even a trainer that's training their dog for the first year, like you can learn things from them because they might have a different outlook on it, and it might be working for their dog or not, and you can learn what not to do.
Yeah.
So it's just that's my biggest lesson is, you know, always be willing to learn. Don't be jaded. Don't be stuck in one program. All the programs actually, if you look at them, if you put a lot of things together, they actually complement each other a lot, and you can build a better dog.
Yeah. Do you buy into the right and left paradigm, purely positive and balanced?
No, I usually stay more, the balance side of things. Um,
I came
and,
up with what's called blended balance,
all
starting
right,
dog purely positive and pushing into balance later.
yeah. Well, I guess that's a way. Yeah, because I have a lot of pet dogs.
Blended.
Yeah, I have to do a lot of positive with,
Yeah.
but I end up switching it later as we go, right? As they learn.
Yes.
I have a saying I tell them all is, look, I feel like I'm a balanced trainer, but my outlook is I want to teach your dog with food what to do
Yeah. You're blended balance trainer.
before I can correct it because it doesn't know what it's doing, right?
Exactly.
It's like
How do you
teaching a
punish?
child.
How do you apply that contingency to something that's uneducated? You had to go through the training phase of teaching it with positive reinforcement to then hold it to a standard.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's
brother.
what I tell them all. And that's how I train. Is I want to teach you before I have to correct you.
Otherwise,
Because
you're an asshole.
exactly, like why are you correcting me? I don't know what I did wrong.
But you better figure it out fast.
Yeah.
You gotta go through, the dog has to go through everything it can think of.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we only have 8 weeks with our police dogs. We teach at post for patrol. Some
Ooh,
have some obedience, some don't. Um,
fast.
but from day one, I teach them how to do food, right? And I mean, granted there is some negative in there a lot that we have to do some corrections and stuff to go a little faster because it's
Well, you're,
8 weeks.
yeah, and you're dealing
But
with the highest drive tip of the spear dogs a lot of times too. Like,
yeah, and and then so I teach them how to do it positively for like the first week.
yeah,
I tell them you guys got to get a ton of reps because we have to
conditioning.
get the dogs ready. And since I came on and have been doing that, like a lot of the dogs have performed better.
Yep. You're,
And
you're
Art Lopez, the head of it now, he's on board with it too. Like he loves the outside thinking of the box, even for the police dogs. And he's like, yeah, let's start them with food the first week and move from food to this as the weeks progress. And
killing it.
a lot of dogs are responding better than just the yank and jank method that we used to
Yeah,
use.
it's dated.
Yeah,
It is a philosophy before like people figured this stuff out.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that, we're changing things and trying to adapt to the scientific findings and new methods, and and we're finding things are coming along faster even for the police dogs. than the old school methods. So it's been nice that I've been able to be a part of that change, and help that program grow as well. So
That's awesome, man. That's killer. Hopefully I get to train with you in the future. Come out to Salt Lake City. It'll be a blast.
yeah,
Sounds like
come play, have fun.
you got a good group of level-headed dudes out there and dudettes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna move into the future outlook of the industry. Some people say it's bleak. Some people are like, what's happening? California's banning e-collars. California's banning prong collars. Even here in a local city in Texas, right adjacent from me, in League City, that the choke chain, the control collar, like just regular Herm Springer choke chain, is banned in the city. So, what do you think is the future of dog training as a whole? And then we can talk about, what you need to do as a business.
So, I mean, whether tools get banned or not, I mean, that's always a thing that's going to happen. Society views different things as
Yeah.
things go on. Some things that used to be the norm is now barbaric, and it's going to be like that throughout history, right?
Yeah.
So, honestly, it's just going to help us develop better training and better ways to train.
Being banned. So if you can't use it, you got to find another way.
Yeah. So if you can't use a tool, find a different way. And we're humans are pretty good at finding other ways to get around things, right?
Yeah.
Um, e-collars right now are probably one of the best technologies out there to train a dog and to be able to do things from a distance.
And the
But
easiest to abuse.
yeah, and two, that's the thing is like if people didn't abuse things, would they be banned?
Yeah.
So, but I deal with it as a cop too. Is there's a lot of things 5 years ago I could do that now it's frowned upon, right? And like take the karate chokehold.
Oh yeah.
Everybody calls it a chokehold, right?
All fun
Like
until someone
5 years
dies.
ago, I teach defensive tactics at my work. So five
Yeah.
years ago, we were still teaching it, still
Yeah.
doing it. And then all of a sudden, the Floyd thing came out. We
Mm-hmm.
adapted. Like, hey, we can't do this. Let's move to these other techniques first, right? So just being adaptable and not being hung up on something being banned, I think is gonna not really.
You got to become better.
Yeah, you'll just make the trainers better.
Yeah,
So
that's true. I never looked at it that way. You're actually the first person I've ever interviewed that has that positive perspective on it when you so believe in those methods, me too. But
oh
I mean,
yeah.
that is an entirely different perspective to see it that way, that it has to make everybody better. But I still don't want it happening, me personally.
Oh, me neither. I love my e-collar. So
Yeah. Yeah.
because if my dog's 50 yards down the field and does something or running out to a car, how am I gonna save him? Right now I don't know how to adapt to that because I have the e-collar and that's what I use a lot of things for, right? Is
Yeah. Yeah, I train e-collar with like very low stem as another form of communication paired
exactly.
paired with a command. So there's verbal, hand signal, and a physical electrical stem
Yeah,
that especially for like recall. So if he just feels a low stem, he's recalling,
exactly.
and it's like there's no punishment there.
Yeah, no. And
It's
that's somebody
communication.
who's using it right. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing I do teach when we start putting e-collars on dogs at the canine program for the police dogs is Art does a really good job at giving them an e-collar class on how to use it appropriately. And then, but some guys are more hands-on and like
Yeah.
I show them, hey, this is what we mean. Let's see where your dog's at.
You make
And
them
then,
feel it because I do that. I
yeah,
even do that to my clients.
oh yeah. So
Like
I got the Chameleon 3B too. So I'll break mine out and say, hey, this is what we're gonna like. This is
that's a
what's going
nice
on.
e-collar.
Yeah, I love them. After I went to one of them, I ain't gonna go back to anything else. I used to be 100% Dogtra.
Yeah.
Once I got these, man, my life has been so much easier because I use them a lot for pushing behaviors. Very low stem, tell you to heel, push it, let you go in as fast as you can, right? To speed
Hmm.
things up for competition.
Yeah.
And that's usually what I use it for. I don't ever I think maybe a handful of times I've ever used it as an actual punishment, and it was more for a safety reason, not
Yep.
really so
Life
much.
saving, safety,
Yeah,
behaviors that are extremely dangerous to people or the dog itself.
yeah, and that's it. Like, and even Reaper, my PSA 2 dog, right? Like, he loves to bite people. That's his biggest thing. He wants to go out and bite. Like, we failed a lot of trials just because the dog's mindset was, I ain't doing obedience. I'm gonna try to go bite somebody today.
I'm here to fuck some shit up.
Yeah. Like, and he'll stay with me, but he ain't focused on me, right? Like, he'll be like, hey, that guy's over there. Can I bite him? Like,
Can I kill him?
yeah, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna pull because this isn't gonna happen today. But I literally only corrected him for those instances, those dangerous situations. I've
Yep.
never hit him for punishment, just to
Yeah.
punish him for anything.
Yeah, you're using it right too, man.
Yeah.
You're a leader in the industry. I think it's important that we do talk about these things so that people that don't know, they get to hear and see the way it should be done. Because
Oh yeah.
they'll watch a guy that sees it used wrong or lazy or just trying to rush something, and the more people that put out the proper education on it will help the industry, at least try to save it for a little while.
Yeah, and you know what I do with like people who come to my club, that I don't really know, that's first timers and wants to train with us, or even some new clients that come in with an e-collar. The first thing I do is take their e-collar off, set it down. And I was like, now you're gonna learn how to train first, and then I'll show you how to introduce it later. Because
Perfect.
they always have it on 50 or 60, and I'm like, dude, that's way too much. Like, give me that.
You're
Put it away.
starting with messing your dog up.
Yeah. And I was like, you're gonna hurt your dog and it's not gonna listen. So let's start over. And
Yeah.
then, people are always hesitant at first, but once you show that your method is working and this is the correct way to use the e-collar, like I had one guy, his dog would never heel next to him. And this e-collar was always on 70, like all the time, like even
Jeez.
for low stem stuff.
Was it like a Dogtra 1900 on
It was
70?
e-technologies collar.
Mini educator on 70?
Yeah.
Still rock your ass.
Yeah, and his dog's always foraging and kind of rapping, and I'm like, your dog doesn't understand, and you just fry him. Like, let me show you. And literally within a few months, now his dog's almost correct completely. Like
Yeah,
his dog's shoulders are more even with his legs. Like, we're never gonna fix it completely because he had 3 years of foraging like crazy, right?
do you think he's doing that because he's trying to over encounter what's to come with the high stem?
Yeah, like
So he's
once
like over adjusting, over pushing himself to try to, and it's like it's the kid, the baseball dad that's too damn hard on the kid, and he goes out
yeah,
there to do it right.
yeah. I think there's a little bit of the e-collar thing, and the reward was always coming from the right hand side.
Mm,
So the dog was just trying to please and get to the reward fast, so the stem comes off.
yep.
So once I took both of those away and moved the reward around to left side behind him, different areas, like the dog suck right in and goes, okay, this is fun now.
Yeah,
So
the amount of years you've been doing things too, you're able to assess people and break things down and fix problems and really understand and know the root cause of issues or why they're occurring and how to fix them. And I think a lot of people can't do that just because it takes time. It takes years to get to that level of working
yeah,
with a lot of fucking dogs and being
yeah.
around a lot of people.
Well, I've been doing it 17 years, and I've worked a lot of dogs, a lot of people, and one of my very first mentors, when I did Schutzen, he taught me how to be a helper, and he was so hard on me, I hated him. For years, I hated him because I just felt like he was a drill sergeant and a jerk, right?
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to read the dog behavior I can now, because that was his whole thing: is read the dog, stop messing up, watch what the dog's doing, stop messing up. This is wrong. Yeah. And I'm like, I thought I was, but I'm getting yelled at, right? But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to read the dogs as quick and as easy as I can.
Yeah.
Is the way I feel. And I might not be 100% the best at it, but I'm pretty dang good. And I feel like majority of the time I'm spot on.
Yep.
And I equate it to him because he would yell at me for years and years until I did everything perfect. So
What are your future aspirations for B-Hyve K9? What are you trying to? Where's the end goal? What are you trying to get to?
So my end goal with B-Hyve is right now we have a 4,600 square foot facility. 1,000 square foot is our training area. About 800 of it is, or so, maybe a little less, is like our boarding area. And then we have our little gym and stuff, and then 600's like our office and sales area for collars and whatnot, tugs, toys. But my ultimate goal is to actually buy a facility, a nice 10,000 square foot facility, open up some a little bit of more doggy daycare space, be able to house a little more dogs, and then actually have almost a trial size field inside for training and for competing in. And then, grow that, and so I can retire and, just keep working on it until my boys are old enough to take over.
So automate everything, delegate. That's going to take a lot of delegation, brother. You're going to have to trust a lot of people.
Yeah. So it's getting better. We've got I got some really good employees now, and I don't have to stress so much. Like my nephew actually works for me and his girlfriend, and he cleans all the kennels and she does all the reception stuff, and it's been super great. And then my manager and her son is one of our kennel techs, and like I don't have to sit here and babysit. And
awesome. Are you thinking about the digital space online? Because what if we have another COVID? What if the world shuts down?
Yeah.
You can't run your physical business. Are you thinking about that?
Yeah. So I actually just got started on building an app.
Cool.
I'm gonna start. We started taking videos and stuff to put together. I almost got like an initial course, like teaching the dog to go into a kennel, right? Enough video finally to start that course.
Cool.
To actually and I'm gonna do that one for free. I mean, it's for me. I'm a advocate to keeping your dogs in a crate in the car or at home if you're not paying attention, just safety reasons and other things. And so I want to give that program for free once I get that app up and running, and then we'll build it from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, the digital space is big, not only for additional streams of income, but and it's always good when you have things that you can serve and sell to somebody that's in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? When you're in Salt Lake, then they're coming to you.
Exactly.
So,
I actually just went to Jersey the beginning of this year for a canine scent work seminar. One of my friends brought me out there, and I got to train like.
Was it Blue Line?
Huh?
Was it the Blue Line conference?
No. This was just a private person, Kathy Soto.
Okay.
She has Kathy Soto dog training. She's a big AKC trainer.
Yeah.
So they brought me out to her facility, and I got them started, and then me and her's been back and forth, online and stuff. And I'm pushing her dog so she started her own scent work training for her business, and I've been helping her build that up over there. So
I've been seeing a lot of, I guess, I don't know if they're seminars or what they are, but through Precision Explosives. Have you ever used their kits and stuff? This isn't a plug for them, but hey, it's a plug. I use a lot of Precision Explosives kits and their NARC kit. Their NARC kit is these little, wafers that have been put in. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but they've been kicking ass for me on those aids.
Yeah, I've done both, and I've trained 2 bomb dogs on just those.
Yep.
And both been able to go and pass the test on the real stuff.
Yeah.
So
you've got to scale the odor thresholds though and get them used to the higher yields.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah, and that was the only, like, we showed them a few prior to the test of the higher concentrates, but for the most part, they all trained on those precision odors, and they killed it.
Yeah. What about Scent Logics? You've been using them?
No.
Yeah, I try to use a little mix of everything and real. I don't want to say that. My bad. I just try to use a little mix of everything.
Yeah. So like during our patrol or her narcotic and explosive schools, I use this odors those guys have. When I don't have them, I usually just do the precision. One of my friends who lives about an hour from me owns his own company for bomb detection, and he swears by Scent Logic, uses it. I haven't had a chance to go train with him to
Yeah,
use
I
it, but
use it. I use it. It's just in my experience, it's very powerful, dude. It is
yeah,
powerful. I mean, you'll open a package of that shit and it'll punch you in the face, and you're like, Jesus,
oh,
from one of those aids. So
yeah,
it seems very strong, but it works. It's wonderful. And the guy that owns it, David, he's awesome. He's such an expert scientist. I mean, he'll get into the like literally teaching you about it's called the theory of everything, quantum
yeah.
physics and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, I went to one of his classes at one of the canine seminars in
Blow
Vegas,
your mind.
and I was like, dude, this guy is beyond me. I have
Yeah,
like
he'll melt your
my head
fucking
hurt
brain.
afterwards. Like I couldn't remember, right? Because there's
Melt
just
it.
so much. He was just so smart.
Yeah. So what have you been seeing in the seven figure syndicate? Have you been paying attention to the Facebook group and stuff? Where are we going with that?
Not as much as I'd like, just because of my schedule. But the biggest thing is, I really like the camaraderie, and everybody seems to be on the same page about helping each other out,
Yeah.
helping grow each other's businesses. There's not anybody saying things behind people's back or anything like that, and that's what, like I said, when I first started looking into your stuff, that kind of is what drew me to you. Is because I 100% believe we all should work together, and we all should teach each other, because everybody has something good to share,
Yeah.
and I can always learn from anyone. I don't care if you've been doing it 2 years, you
Yeah.
might have learned something different than I have, and you could teach me something.
Yeah. We're about to hit 100 businesses
Nice.
in the Facebook page alone right now. That's 100 companies in the United States, and some of them are overseas. Like we've got people in Australia and England and stuff. I mean, we're only advertising to America, so somehow they're getting in, and it's going to become worldwide. And imagine when you have that's why I call it the syndicate. When it's a syndicate of all these individuals working together, if you're
Hmm.
not a part of it, how do you compete with us?
Exactly.
And everybody's building and supporting and sharing the best technology and the software. It's mind blowing for it. But once your schedule frees up, getting you in on these morning calls, or even your employees, the
Yeah.
sales calls on Thursdays are huge. Sales is not what people think it is. When there's a lot of brainwashing on things of thinking that being sales is bad, being sales is like slimy. It's serving other people, it's selling them what they need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a for some people they're better at it because their charisma is good and stuff like that. But it is a task that you have to be educated on to truly be good at it. Not everybody's cut out for it.
Right.
We focus a lot on the sales calls on Thursday and stuff. But
Okay.
it's been an honor having you in the Facebook group, um, doing this interview with you and learning about your company, your background. Is there anything else that people watching this on YouTube? Um, everybody's welcome to come out and train with you. Can they show up at the club? They show up at B-Hyve first. How should they go about it?
Yeah, just find us on Facebook, Instagram, or uh, with our website, bhyvek9.com.
Mhm.
Feel free to shoot me a message, and I'll get you in. So it's usually talk to me, and you're wanting to do. I'm actually getting ready to start a second PSA club. Um, so because I have enough people that wanting to join the club. My one club, my Salt City Hellhounds club's full. I think we're up to like 18 dogs right now in that club. So that's a lot. So I'm starting a secondary club to help. There's a few people that I have become friends with that have young Malinois that wanted to be part of the club. So I offered this to them, and they were super excited to start getting it rolling. So I'm getting ready to start a secondary club. So it's a good time right now to reach out, and if you're interested in PSA and you want to come and check that club out. Our first meeting is next Monday, actually, at 5 o'clock. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Very cool, man. It
Anything
was an
else?
honor.
Reach out. I'll be happy to answer any questions and meet with you. So
Yeah, it was an honor having you, man. And I look forward to the business side and the training side and whatever we do in the future. networking and meeting together, man. It's an honor to have you in the Seven Figure Syndicate.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks, Shane. And it was great meeting you face to face as well. And hopefully when you do get to come out here and you don't want to just all have fun and want to come play with some bite dogs, come on down. I got a suit that'll probably fit you.
Yeah, do some work. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.